Strippers of Reddit, what's your weirdest story while working? I had a customer whose wife had committed suicide after a long battle with depression. He would buy multiple champagne rooms once a month and share stories about her. The funny look she'd give him sometimes when he told a flat joke, the way he loved how she twirled her hair, how they met, her favorite food, etc. Hours and hours of crying and sharing memories about this woman he loved so dearly. It was weird because it was so pure. I'm actually getting a little choked up now thinking about it. He loved her so dang much. So dang much. That breaks my heart. That is literally my biggest fear, no joke. One of our old dancers passed away 10 years ago in a drunk driving accident. Every holiday her mom and some of her church friends come into the club and pass cookies and jewelry to girls in memorial. We love our sweet church ladies. I am one of 5 secular musicians who plays music at the same church as a side hustle. And I gotta say, there's a pretty decent number of decent, non-judgmental folks at some churches. Not a stripper, but oh my life to one. Used to work at a strip joint as head of security. One of the girls, they called me little brother so I called them girls, said one of the patrons was creeping her out. We made creepy. We are talking Scooby-Doo creepy. Dude leave. Girl then asked for someone to walk her to the car as she had a bad feeling. I said I would as I was not busy. I went out first, checked around and did not see anyone in the parking lot. Went and got the girl and started to walk her to her car. Creepy dude came out from the dumpster. I did not see him in time and he smacked me in the back of the head with a effing brick. I go down to both knees. I hear high-pitched girly screams. I am trying to get to my feet, clear the cobwebs. Thankfully I have more bone than brain. Only to find the girl smashing the creep's head into the ground. After she literally crushed ONR of his testicles with her foot. She said he was trying to smash the brick into my head a second time when she went on the offensive. Did a heck of a number on him. Holy crap. I got asked by a guy to have my feet sucked. He seemed pretty normal for the most part. Told everyone in the club. Walked into work about a week later and he was the new bouncer. I got paid $500 to beat a man with his own belt on stage for his last night as a bachelor. I was brutal and the more savage I got, the more tips rolled in. That poor guy. But through all the screams and wincing, he actually loved every bit of it. Hope he healed before the wedding. It's finally my time to shine. Let me tell you about Catford Braith. This man was a heart surgeon, and if you didn't know that you would think he was a janitor or something. He came across as barely functional. This man's mouth smelled like dry cat food and a hot juicy dumpster on a summer day mixed together in perfect harmony. Well anyways, he would tell me, and everyone at the bar, how his dream life was to kidnap me and take me to Mexico, not allow me to ever sleep, and to encase me in a body condom and throw me into a pool of ice if I tried to sleep at all. That's quite a red flag you've got there. Hick Club. Guy who was a celery farmer came in and gave us all 3 bags of celery. There was also Candle Guy, worked at a candle factory and would bring in the reject candles. Supposedly other farmers with various free foods would come in, but I only got hooked up with celery and candles. The only appropriate way to stalk a stripper. Edit. Obligatory thanks for the golden gifts, kind strangers. Also shout out to those who shared the Chelsea FC celery chant. Amazing. I was the bartender at a strip club for a few months once. I have seen and heard some crazy stories. Classic strip club stuff. But this one time, a customer brought in her pet parrot to the bar. I obviously spent the rest of my shift talking with the parrot. His name was Pickle. He tipped me $1. He was a real gem. Man, getting tipped $1 by a parrot. I'd frame it. A buddy paid me back $200 with a banded stack of $2 bills. Went to a nearby club with a friend and all was well until a young dancer took the stage. We began putting money on the stage and she just stops and says, "What the frick is this?" Apparently she hadn't seen a $2 bill before. That's funny considering I've heard some clubs give out $2 bills if you need change for larger bills for tipping. The girls are liable to get more since the minimum tip is $2 if you got change, and you're encouraged to spend all of them because everyone else in town knows where you got a bunch of $2 bills from. An ex-pro skater took a liking to me and kept buying dances from me. Clubs in my city don't have VIP rooms. I was a baby stripper, so after a few dances I just ran out of moves lol, but the guy started calling me Arwin and Liv. I kept saying those aren't my name and he confessed he was in love with me because I look like Liv Tyler in the 90s. Probably the best compliment I've received. The bad experiences I think I've repressed. I have to know if it was Tony Hawk. There's a very sweet older man who is a regular at my club. He's never gropey and always tips in 20s. His only request is to lick and suck in the bottom of our shoes. I can't see the harm in it, but it grosses some girls out. I guess so long as he's paying, he can shine my shoes all day lol. Our club has been closed for months now. I wonder how he's doing these days. Probably a lot healthier, you would have to think. Not a stripper but was an escort. A man booked me for $400 for 2 hours just to get naked to have dinner in the room and talk to him on the bed. Never wanted sex. Just be naked and talk about stuff. He said he never get to talk to his wife like that. Kinda sad for him. I feel like most dancers have countless stories. Hard to find weird ones because they're all a little odd and it becomes normal over time. One man spent over $1,000 on me over a couple hours. I massaged his back and he fell asleep in a champagne room. When he woke up he said, "How did you know exactly what I needed?" After the champagne room he wanted more time with me and we went to do several private dances. He cried during them while I sat on his lap and sang to him and brushed his hair back, massaging his scalp with my nails. Another man came up to me grumbling about worshipping me and wanting to lick the bottom of my heels, suck the stiletto and drink my urine. It was so slow and I was reading a book in the back of the club, so I was awfully surprised when someone approached me and unleashed all of that on me. My manager said he'd pee in a glass for me if I really wanted to go for it. Who hurt that first dude? WTF. I went with my friend on a sorta slow Tuesday night. Met this dancer that hated this one creepy dude and asked me to keep buying dances and she'll pay me back and take me to the 24-hour faux place. Heard this one before. I keep buying dances and we talk about Zelda Hoot. End of the night comes around. She gives me her number and texts me to meet at the faux place in an hour. A woman of her word. She gives me my cash back and buys me faux. TL. DR. Stripper bought me faux. Haha, I never would have believed that. Sounds like the oldest trick in the book, but she said she was doing to meet me to the bouncer as they escort you out. Not really weird but sad. One time I was doing a VIP session, and this dude legitimately told me to stop dancing, and basically broke down in front of me, telling me he was only there because his friends dragged him along to cheer him up. From what he told me, he caught his wife in bed with another man, and they recently just got divorced. He told me his now ex-wife told his kids that he was the one cheating, and his kids basically hated him now. I've never felt so bad for a total stranger all my life. Not a stripper but have a funny story from the only time I've been to a strip club. On a night out at university, my friend had just broken up with his girlfriend, so dragged me into one of clubs in town. He paid for me to have a dance whilst he tried to bet with one of the others by flipping a coin. Heads, he gets the dance for free. Tails, he pays double. It was tails. Anyway, during my dance, I was chatting to the girl who was a similar age and we found out we were both studying law. Although she was a year below and at a separate university, we spent the majority of the dance discussing contract law and our experiences as a student. She ended up giving me her email address and I sent her all of my notes from the previous current year to help her out. She'll have graduated by now, so I often wonder what she's up to. It all ended up being quite a wholesome night considering. Does a third-party experience count? A few years ago when Skyrim was still all the rage, got dragged to a strip club with a friend's birthday party. Noticed that one of the strippers had a Skyrim logo tattoo for a tramp stamp, the Septim Dragon Diamond. Pointed it out to the guys in the party, and one dude peeled off to get a dance from her. Fast forward a couple hours and we realized that he never came back to join us. I went looking for him and sure enough, he's sitting in one of the private dance booths. The chick is naked sitting next to him. He's rubbing her feet and they are discussing Skyrim mods. Later on it turned out he ended up spending $400 for the pleasure and she didn't do a single dance for him. When I was a stripper, a customer visiting from Canada bought a lap dance and while we were back there, he tried to talk me into going to his hotel to give him a hand job for $200. I declined multiple times, He took the hint and also came in his pants during the lap dance. He leaves. Life goes on. 8 years later I'm a hairdresser in the suburbs and who the frick walks in? Hand job guy. I was the only one available and I'm a professional so I didn't say anything. He mentioned I looked familiar, and halfway through it seemed to dawn on him because he suddenly got quiet, paid, literally ran out, and never came back lol. Cousin's friend is a former stripper, told this one at a family gathering. Essentially, this dude paid for the full VIP treatment, room and all that, but 4 minutes in or so, he wanted to show his dogs. He spent the entire rest of the time showing her his dogs and videos of them playing. She asked him why he spent his money for the full VIP treatment just to show dogs. He said, "Oh, I just wanted to show my dogs to someone, but couldn't find another way." That's oddly wholesome, but it says so much about our society that someone paid hundreds of dollars in a strip club because they were lonely and no one else cared about them. Either that or they were into showing pictures of their dogs. A guy told me I looked intellectual and began to debate me on how gay marriage shouldn't have been legalized in 2019. Guess what kind of club we were in? Clearly debate club. There was a guy who was super drunk and telling me he was there with his wife, but it's cool, they have an open relationship thing going on. Cool, whatever, none of my business. We go and start to dance. Maybe a minute and this woman runs around the corner and starts screaming at him. He starts screaming back and pretty much tosses me to the floor and runs after her, dropping $100 in the process, while also already having paid for the dance. I grab the money and try to find out what happened. I asked a waitress if she'd seen where he went and she said he'd just been kicked out for choke slamming the woman into a wall. So I got to keep the money, which was kinda cool. Had another guy pay me $700 to literally just rub my feet for 2 hours. I hate foot stuff, people touching my feet, but frick man, $700 during a day shift was pretty sweet. $700 to receive a foot massage. Lucky lady. Not a stripper, but I did work in a strip club as a bouncer, which provided me a great story involving one of the girls. Her name was Robot, totally cool chick which had quite a following with the locals. In particular, one regular of hers would come in once a week, without missing a single week, and get the same private dance from the same girl Robot. During his private dance, the man, who was a big fellow, weighing about 350 plus, would ask her to take her stiletto heels and put them down his throat, followed by a splash of creamer in his face. He paid her $400 each time. Not a stripper, but was at a bachelor party. We were at a higher end place where they just had one central stage and it wasn't just girl get naked. They each had some kind of theme and dance. Like one girl was dressed like Batgirl and rode out a Batmobile Power Wheel car, and another girl was doing whips and stuff. So this girl starts doing a fire show and is swinging around these flaming bolos and then pours a circle of fire around her on the stage. Then she does the breath of fire and her face catches on fire. She's wildly patting at her head. Bouncers come running. Every guy at the stage hops up ready to help, but she gets the fire out and holds her hands up like I'm okay. It's fine, and everyone kinda nervously sits back down and she finishes out her show to the smell of burned hair. Everyone felt terrible for her and put out a lot of tips, but she left them all and just walked out without taking any money when she finished. Pretty sure she didn't have eyebrows and now had flame-induced bangs. I strip, but this is actually my co-worker's story. She was sitting at the bar with another dancer and a guy walked by. Her friend said, "Quick, put your head down on the bar and be really still." She was weirded out, but she did it for a few minutes, and when she came back up, he had left $1,000 next to her head. Friend told her he was a regular, and he was really into women pretending to be dead. This is like a video game trick to get more money or something. I had a guy who paid for lap dances during which I sat on top of him doing nothing while he verbally narrated a story about me as a goddess in some made up pantheon he created, rising from the fricking sea and stepping on men's backs etc. until he nutted in his pants. He exclusively referred to my pee as a shrine. Also had a guy follow me around the club on all fours wanting to do puppy play. Another one pushed a cough drop down my sock into my toes and then had me leave it there for a while and then took it out and ate it. There was once a regular at one of my clubs who would ask you to pretend to be dead while you sat with him. And if you were good at enough at it, he would buy a room with you where you would pretend to be dead while he pretended to embalm you. He was a no longer licensed mortician. I gave my first VIP dance to a man who looked like Nicolas Cage, and Lin-Manuel Miranda had a baby who also had the same name as my nephew. He liked to slap and didn't like me grooving to the music. Once some guy took me to VIP and kept trying to make out with me and saying, "Do you like me? Do you like me?" It was very sad. Narrator. She did not like him. A few years back I used to date a girl who was a stripper and cocktail waitress. This is not my story, but this is one she shared with me. It was close to closing time and a clean-cut guy had been buying drinks and dances all night. My ex and her friend got him into the VIP rooms for a private dance. He mostly wanted to watch the girls dancing and groping each other, but he kept trying to get them to come over to his hotel room after close. My ex saw the red flags and immediately said no. She started making excuses, but the other girl was down. So after close I pick my ex up and we head over to Waffle House as was our routine. Halfway through our meal the girl texts my ex and the guy had apparently met her at the hotel room already stripped to his underwear, laid down in the bathroom and told her to pee all over him while he just laid there saying "who's a filthy s" over and over again. She did this twice and apparently made $300. Yeah, I think that qualifies as weird. Honestly, I think she should have been paid more than $300. She risked death to be there. Our club had a guy we called the Measure Man. Little old Asian man that would take a girl for a dance and just ask her to stand still while he took her measurements with a tape measure. Never said what for, and didn't speak the whole time. Our guesses ranged from he was making a life-sized sex doll, to personalized coffins for when he murdered one of us. When I was just starting out, I had a Hispanic man who became my regular for about a year and a half. He'd always show up dressed to the nines and he'd never go to anyone else. He spoke no English and never wanted private dances. He'd stay long enough that I'd have about 4 rotations on stages. Each time I was up he'd walk to my stage and surround that thing with $100 bills. No matter who was sitting there. It was around $2,500 each set. He was respectful and polite and of course, I looked forward to him coming in. Then, he abruptly disappeared. I was 19 at the time and very naive. The DJ explained to me that my regular was very likely a dealer or runner and had gotten busted or murdered. It was a dose of reality I'd never experienced and it broke my young heart. Then there was the time a guy crawled up on stage and bit my butt and I beat him with my stiletto. Or the time a guy grabbed my breast and I broke his fingers. Good times. Escort instead of stripper. I had one guy who would take me to a restaurant once every month. He always requested there would be nothing else involved. No stripping, no touching, no sex. Just sitting there for a few hours. So he also wanted me to dress like I would for a normal night out. He had a massive stutter, so much that a single sentence could take him a minute to pronounce. Normally he would always speak by writing things down, as people never had the patience to listen to him. He just wanted someone to actually talk to. He mentioned that I was his 7th escort, because the others all refused to see him multiple times. After I left the job, I kept in touch with him. We still go out every once in a while almost 10 years later and we call more often. Though now he no longer has to pay and because he has had someone to talk to, his stutter massively improved. Wow, you're a good person. There was a regular who would pay for a VIP and ask you to sit with your legs open while he shined a flashlight right at your bits. He'd pay for half an hour at a time and just peer into the cavern like. The overly descriptive yet perfect usage of emoji here has me in stunned awe. Several strippers have told me about the guy that pays them to stab him in the stomach. Another famous regular pays them to act dead. He will sit next to them and whisper about how they OD on heroin. If they move, laugh, etc. he immediately leaves. Girls will fall flat off the pole if he walks in since he is such a good tipper. This one is odd, but another guy pays them to just walk around with a piece of paper stuck to their shoe. If someone mentions it, the girl says she is keeping it there. He just sits in the corner and watches. NASB. The strip club in my town had free cheeseburgers, so a stripper cooked me and my buddy some cheeseburgers on the grill and back outside. She wore an apron but was otherwise in stripper apparel. We mostly talked about cooking. Thank you kind sir for saving me 4 words of reading. I had a guy ask me for a foot job in the private dance booth. It was my first day on the job. He said he had a relationship with several of the dancers where they would do that for him. In my head I was pretty shocked but tried to just smile and be flirty and go with it. He went on for a while about his foot fetish and insisted that I give him a foot job. I told him maybe next time but it never happened. A guy threw up on me during a dance. I'm a sympathy puker so I immediately threw up all over him in return. I made him tip me $100 and leave $100 for the cleaning crew. This didn't happen to me but I know a girl who got paid $150 to pee in a cup and then the customer drank it. Yum yum lemonade. This art professor from a local university would bring a camera and little glass table that he would lay under in the VIP room while girls crushed tubes of paint with their heels. Afterwards he would have the girls walk all over his chest. He had scars all over his body from where he had been cut up by the stilettos. He was a regular so we'd always let him into the VIP room alone to set up his things. One time, he brought in a shallow cardboard box that he had hollowed out on the bottom and put on the table. Halfway through the VIP room the girl runs out screaming and crying. She looked down and the top of the cardboard box had curled over to reveal that she was stepping on several little white mice. Dude was only kicked out for a few months, but never allowed to bring his equipment back in again. Animal abuse notwithstanding, it is frick to force your kink on an unsuspecting party. Not cool. I had a virgin man from India once who booked me for the champagne room. He offered me an extra $400 to stick his index finger in my vag for a few seconds lol. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.